If you love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz. I'm here today with...
Zero.
How you doing this week?
I'm doing alright, mostly because the project I'm working on finally got the momentum back on it, so...
Nice.
Yeah, it's just nice to have my project resume after being kind of in stasis for almost a month and a half.
Oh, God, that's terrible. You're just waiting that whole month to be like, okay, can we get to the point now? Can we just get this rolling? And like, no, we still got it. That sucks. That's terrible.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was due to, like, just an editorial decision, and we were waiting and doing a whole lot of back and forth on the technical side. I think it was after 2 weeks of waiting, I just asked my boss, I was like, hey, is there any other team I can jump on to help? Because I hate sitting and doing absolutely nothing. And so my boss was just like, yeah, I've got another team that could use your help, so can you jump over there and help? And I was like, thank fucking Christ.
All right, so we are here today to review the 2013 horror film The Conjuring, starring Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Lily Taylor, and Ron Livingston, directed by James Wan. I think people who have heard this one probably know what it's about. In 1970, paranormal investigators and demonologists named Lorraine and Ed Warren, played by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, are summoned to the home of Carolyn and Roger Perron, played by Lily Taylor and Ron Livingston. The parents and their 5 daughters have recently moved into a secluded farmhouse where a supernatural presence has made itself known. Though the manifestations are relatively benign at first, events soon escalate into horrifying fashion, especially after the Warrens discover the house's macabre history. Zero, I think we should get right off the bat. I don't think either of us are really horror fans. Is that correct?
I'm a horror fan, but mostly with psychological horror. Things that sort of like screw with your perception and stuff like that. It's more common in Asian cinema, especially with Japanese and South Korean filmmakers. A good example of one of my favorite Asian horror movies is A Tale of Two Sisters. I love that one mostly because of just how much it just messed with your head, because you constantly think that you have a grasp on the plot and what's going on, and the movie just keeps pulling the rug from right down under you. And that was why I love that movie so much.
I kind of am with you too. I like a more psychological horror film. I guess the thing with me is I don't like jump scares and I don't like a lot of gore. What are your thoughts on the film?
It's an interesting film, but I feel that it just has a very, very hard over-reliance on jump scares, because it's just the one thing that they use a lot. And it's funny too, because like in the beginning of the movie, there's one sequence that you think is leading to a jump scare, and then it's just like, nope, psych, there's no jump scare here. And it's just like, oh god, it's gonna be one of those, huh? Just occasionally desensitize us with like a jump scare that leads nowhere, and then there's gonna be a whole bunch of jump scares, and you're gonna try to have the viewer guessing which scare is the real scare, or if they're all just empty jump scares, or if they're all like actually frightening jump scares. It's just like, oh god, why the over-reliance on the jump scares? One of the things that I just do not like about horror movies that have to use the jump scare as a bit of a crutch.
So there are people I think that enjoy jump scares in films, and maybe if they are into those type of things, that might be what's best for them. My issue is not only the jump scare issue that you're saying, which they're over-reliance of it, they're also very telegraphed. Like you can tell right away when one is about to happen, and that is due to the sound design of the film. Now, I want to give a shout out to whoever did the sound in this movie, because it's actually really good. The rustling of leaves, the wind, the creaking of wood, all that stuff is great. But when you start hearing nothing is when, oh, here it comes, and then boom, there it is. And then when it gets into like the crazier quote-unquote stuff that happens in the film, to me I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. There's one scene in the movie where literally the girl is being thrown from one part of the room to like a window, and the throw looks cheesy as hell. It doesn't look believable at all. It looks like she's floating and then suddenly a crash.
The demonic things going on, they were nice for setups and stuff like that, but they would be just that. It'd just be like, okay, just here's your cue that, shit's gonna get real weird. Soon after stuff got weird, bam, jump scare time. It was like, oh, god damn it, guys.
I will say, though, there is one thing about the film that I thought was interesting that I thought they should have put more time into, and that's the ghost photography and the gathering of evidence that the film showed. I think those were the most interesting parts. I know people who have seen stuff like Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters or whatever it's called. I forget. There's probably plenty of them. I think that stuff was kind of interesting to watch. I thought they should put more of an emphasis on that specifically, because really the drama was not working for me.
I definitely liked the whole sort of investigatory phase, especially when the Warrens were just like, we're not going to be able to take drastic measures unless we have some sort of evidence to show a church or a higher authority like the Vatican or something. So we need to, really, really buckle down and do some hard investigation. And when they have the sound equipment, the cameras, the works, when things get active and they start really following the random occurrences of things going on and start capturing hard evidence, it's just like, wow, okay, that's actually kind of neat. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, but I like putting on shows like Ghost Adventures and shit just to kind of see some of the antics that go on with like the captures and stuff like that. I think I would have loved a little bit more of sort of the investigation side of the movie, because I thought that was really neat. When they do their initial investigation, like, hey, we think we have something, and then when they do their more intense investigation and they start getting the serious stuff, and that's when you get the church and authorities involved, they're like, oh, sweet God, that is really fucking intense. What in the world is going on here?
I agree, and I think if they would have kept more on that, I think it would be a more interesting film. I didn't really feel anything for the characters in this film either. I didn't think they were all that interesting. All right, Zero, so let's get into some of the research that you've dug up.
I do think it was interesting that when this film was being choreographed and everything, that they actually had Lorraine Warren as a consultant on the movie and everything, which is interesting because typically with sort of these paranormal ghost story sort of movies, usually they don't like to consult with like the original ghost hunter or stuff like that. It's usually just kind of it's a ghost story. Who the fuck cares? Just, fucking put some stunt work in it and get some effects work going on, and that's all you need. There's no reason for us to consult the actual ghost hunter for it. I thought that was kind of interesting to see that she was actually consulted for this movie. The other interesting thing was the fact that apparently one of the previous owners of the house, they apparently had a whole lot of people vandalizing their property due to the film coming out. And apparently just the previous owners had actual legal documentation of just occurrences of when people broke into the home, trying to replicate satanic rituals and left like weird items and offerings in the house and stuff like that. Apparently dismissed by a judge back in December 2017. There was yet another lawsuit against the movie. Apparently, Gerald Brittle, he's been one of the few folks who's been sort of documenting these cases that the Warrens have been on in the form of books and things like that. He had apparently sued Warner Brothers, New Line Productions, and James Wan because apparently he had made claims that since he would be the Warrens' exclusive writer, that he essentially had film rights to any sort of film media that would be involving the Warrens and their work. And apparently this particular case ended up just settling out of court back in December 2017 as well.
All right, Sarah, so do you recommend The Conjuring?
Fortunately, no. Mostly it's due to my problem with just the over-reliance on the jump scares. There's just so many moments that they're just like, hey, do you think you're safe? Boom, jump scare. Oh, no, psych. It's just a kid being cute. You can relax, it's no big deal. And then just boom, jump scare. And then the worst part is some of the jump scares are, like you mentioned, they're completely telegraphed. It's just like, oh, hey, look, creepy things happening. And you're just kind of bracing yourself like, oh God, here it comes. Here comes the jump scare. And then just like clockwork, boom. It's just like, oh, geez, really? Okay. Saw this from a mile away, but yeah, sure, whatever.
I also do not recommend this film. I am with you. I think the scares they use in this movie are not really that scary at all. I think they're more annoying than anything else. But I will say that the one plus I do like is the whole ghost photography and gathering evidence part of the film. I think that is probably the best part of the film. But when it comes to like the characters, the drama and everything, I felt zero about this. I just waited for everything to just play by the numbers and move forward from that. So I felt very underwhelmed by this. I can't say I was bored, but I can't say I was terribly interested in it as well. So overall, Zero, do you recommend The Conjuring?
No, I do not.
And neither do I. We both do not recommend The Conjuring. Of course, we are very much in the minority on this one. So, yeah, if you want to watch it, it is the spooky time of the season. Check that out. I believe I saw it on Max. Where did you watch it?
I saw it on Max as well.
Okay, so check it out on Max if you are interested. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. Thank you for listening to this review. If you want to know what we're reviewing in the next couple days, you can look on the screen right now to see what's coming up next. If you like what you heard, go ahead and leave a like on this video. If you want to discuss your opinion on the film or the review itself, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the channel. Thank you again for listening. I will talk to you next time.